be in and is ready to go home, go to sleep. Oh, we got some more to do. We got a little bit more information before that happens. It was blessed, and this was a treat for me. It's the first time I've actually got to sit and listen to my little brother. And it was a blessing. It was just awesome. And I'm very, very proud and blessed with that. We're gonna get started for our next service. Please, those that can kneel, let's kneel and have a word of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you, asking you to send our Holy Spirit in this place, Lord. Let us receive the word with open ears, open heart, open mind. Let us not only just listen, but take heed and apply the truth to our lives daily. Amen. Let us have a conversion daily to serve you with all our heart, soul, and mind. Yes. Bless us as we continue our searches, Lord, that your angels come and join us. Let us be blessed. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. The speaker today will be my father, Mamon Wilson, who has been doing this medical missionary work as long as I am old. That's a long time. Young to some, but old to some also. He's known as a medical missionary physician. Some call him a medical missionary doctor. Some just call him doctor. He don't like the term doctor, he'll tell you that. But he is. He is. And one of the greatest, and I'm not saying that because he's my father, because of what I've seen. And some of you that was here last night have seen it by experience. And his belief is Jesus is the greatest physician. Amen. And if you can't believe in the word, just believe in the works. Now, trust me, you will see the works. Oh, yes.
Amen. Thank you, Jesus.
And he's going to present the message today, and I hope y'all be blessed. Those that have your Bibles, open the scripture today will be Exodus chapter 15. And we said before, we're Bible-believing people. Amen? Amen. Exodus chapter 15 and verse 26. When you have it, say amen. Amen. And said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians. For I am the Lord that healeth thee. May God have a blessing and reading of his word. Amen.
Thank you all so much. The Lord is gracious.
Amen.
And I don't know why he's so gracious to me. I feel special, you know what I mean?
Amen.
I really do. I question all the time. I said, Lord, why are you so good?
Amen.
You know, I guess because I've been so bad to him. And you know, I need more goodness.
Amen.
I feel like that. You know, I was telling somebody the other day that I have 3 children. I have a daughter, that's my first one. She's in her 50s. She's a medical missionary.
Amen.
And I have a young son. When he was 12 years old, he told me God called me to be a medical missionary physician. His mother and me never encouraged him to take up this work. He came on his own and said, that's what I want to do.
Amen. Thank you, Jesus.
And now God has blessed me with my oldest son.
That's right.
As a medical missionary. My privilege is full.
Amen.
I tell you what, not many people can say that.
That's right.
You know, it's something that I have to say God has been using in parents. You know, I know that with me, especially my oldest boy and my youngest boy, because I live with him, I grew up with him. You know, when they was crawling on the floor, I crawled with them.
Amen.
I played marbles with them. I did things like, we was little friends, I adjusted my age to them.
Yes, you did.
You follow what I'm saying? Then we grew up a little bit more, I adjusted to that. I know forget when my oldest boy got to get married, he don't like me to tell the story. But he always embarrassing me, so I'm going to embarrass him. You know, and I married him, and he said, that night, he said, Dad, we don't know what to do. I said, what? We don't know what to do. I said, Lord have mercy.
That's right.
I've been growing up with him, training him. Now I have to make this last little educational process. That's a great honor. You know what I mean?
Amen.
To have a son that has never been with a woman. A
Amen.
grown son. That's a great honor.
Amen.
That's why I said, I know God loves me because I've been so bad to him.
Amen.
So thank God for that. And if you want your children to serve the Lord, you must serve the Lord.
Amen.
I'm telling you, that's the only way it's going to happen. You know, you can tell them to serve the Lord. You can try to beat them in them. They're going to rebel against it.
Yes.
They're going to see the inconsistency in your life. And they're not going to do it.
That's right.
But if you live the life of Christ in the home, then the child will know it better than anyone.
Amen.
And make a difference in that child's life. So we have to be children to God and be obedient to Him if we expect our children to be obedient. We have to do that. And it'll make a difference, you know. I'll tell you another story, and I'm setting myself up here to get started here. When I got married, my son's mother, we had made a promise. And we said, we want to make sure that our son, a child, would never grow up here arguing and fussing in the home.
That's right.
We made a vow, we would never let that happen. We made a vow to God because marriage is a covenant relationship between three people. And so when you make a covenant relationship with three people, then you promise it to God.
That's right.
And so we was together 25 years. We never argued, fussed, or raised our voice. My son never heard that in his life. All right? Are you following? And I'm telling you, try it. Be converted again.
Amen. Amen.
Love your wife, love your husband, love your children. Even as you love yourself.
Amen.
And set an example in your home.
Amen.
If you expect your children to follow,
That's right.
All right.
it makes a world of difference.
Yes, amen.
Let us have a word of prayer.
Amen.
Father, which art in heaven, dear Lord, I have come. Lord, I have resisted, but I've come.
Yes.
Lord, I'm in an uncomfortable zone, Lord, but I'm here.
Amen.
And Lord, I'm seeking to do your will in competition with my will.
Yes.
Lord, I lay it on the altar in
Yes.
sacrifice. Lord, if you can give your only begotten Son, I can give my stubbornness
Amen.
and unworthiness to thee.
Yes, Lord.
Lord, it's not a good exchange that you take my unrighteousness
Yes.
and I take your righteousness. But it's the only one that is worthy
Amen.
that I may be with the Lamb.
Amen.
Bless me to this end in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jesus.
I'm going to be talking about curing the incurable. That's where I'm most comfortable dealing with. And it's been my life for a long time. And I'm just gonna share my life with you. And now this is my life. You gotta have one of your own.
Mercy.
You got to live your own life. But I'm hoping that my life can inspire you
Amen.
to develop a life with God also.
Amen.
Now we all make mistakes.
Oh, yes.
Don't worry about that.
Mm.
Christ is the great eraser.
Thank you,
All right?
Thank you, Lord.
And I like how he do that.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
And he don't hold nothing against you.
All right, all right.
Remember the pit in which you've been dug.
Mercy.
Come on now.
All
That's
right?
right.
Remember that.
Faith.
I never forget it.
Faith.
That's why I'm really sensitive to other people that are struggling.
That's right.
I meet a man that's smoking. I can tell that man to stop smoking. That man can't stop smoking.
That's right.
I said, man, you know you can't stop smoking. He said, no, I can't. I said, but there's one thing you can do.
Mercy. Come
He
on.
said, what's that? I said, you can pray before you smoke.
All right now.
That's right.
You see, if you don't pray before you smoke,
Come on.
you resist the Holy Spirit. You blaspheme the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
And then there's no chance you will ever stop smoking.
That's right.
You see what I mean? The minute you deny that inclination
All right.
of the Spirit to tell you not to smoke,
That's
you're
right.
blaspheming the Holy Spirit.
Mercy.
You have pushed away the conscience of the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, sir.
And you'll never get over it.
Mercy.
You'll never stop. But as long as you pray, get up and smoke, you got your chance. I don't care if you do it 100 times a day. Pray and get up and smoke. That's drinking, that's homongering, that's whatever it is.
Come on now.
Pray.
Faith.
Don't ever stop praying, because when you stop praying, you have what?
All right. That's right.
Give it
Push
all.
away the Holy Spirit.
Mercy.
And then, if you stray away, if they stray away, God said, I save your children.
That's right.
Thank
Because see, the
you.
Holy Spirit will bring them back.
Thank you.
Now, they're going to get some whippings, but God will bring them back.
Mercy.
So, when they go through that, then I said, now, I'm going to help you by the grace of God. I give them a package of cigarettes. I wish I'd have brought some with me.
All right now. Faith.
They are cigarettes made from herbs. And I said, now, every time you want to smoke, pray, smoke one of these cigarettes, and then if you're not satisfied, go back to the other cigarette. I said, see, can you do that for about 10 days? If they do it for 10 days, they will pull the nicotine and tar out of their body. They will lose the craving for smoking. If they drink an alcohol, and they're addicted to it, and they can't stop. And I said, well, you know, you can't stop something, you can't stop something that you're addicted to. So I tell you what, I'm gonna give you a little alcohol to drink that will stop you from wanting to drink alcohol. And he said, what kind of alcohol is that? It's kind of like that woman that met Jesus at the well, you know, the Samaritan woman. And I said, you can drink of this water and you'll never thirst again.
Well.
It's the same with that alcohol. I said, now, here's this herb called club moss. I want you to make a strong tea out of it. Drink you about 2 cups of it. Then take you a good shot of whiskey.
Mercy.
Do that, and you'll never drink again. Because the club moss will produce fermentation in your stomach. It will incorporate with the alcohol, produce fermentation. You'll develop a lifelong allergy to alcohol. Isn't that something? So every time they smell it, they're going to be sick as a dog. Cramping and vomiting and everything else. I tell you, God is good.
Amen.
Right over here in Arkansas, and a few of them here in Tennessee, they got a small tick. Y'all know what ticks is, right?
Right.
This is a special kind of tick. It is a vegetarian tick. And if you get bit by this tick,
Come on now.
you can never eat animal meat again.
Wow.
You can't eat it.
Wow. Wow.
Y'all don't believe me.
Come on now.
But some of you people I know about this vegetarian tick. I got it in my computer. I wish I had pulled it up and you can see it on the news. Now you believe the news, you know what I mean? It's the 5 o'clock news, you believe that. You don't believe me up here today. But it's real. So God has an antidote for rebellion. He really does. I mean, we can't obey, so give us an antidote.
That's right.
Curing the incurable. Now this was my wife right here, and his mother. And wonderful medical missionary physician. And she was teaching a medical missionary class almost 3 years ago. And after that, we did an ordination, and she got a funny feeling in the back of her neck. And within minutes, she was about gone. And I can deal with almost every situation. I don't panic. If somebody falls in the floor and then start kicking, it don't panic me. I don't even get a heart palpitation. People have a heart attack, I don't get excited. Blood can start shooting all over the place. Ain't no big deal. I just go right and do what I'm supposed to do. But this time I froze.
Oh, wow. Mercy.
I could not think.
Mercy.
I could not respond.
Mercy.
And anyway, but she gave me a beautiful gift.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
And I thank God.
Amen. Amen.
The Lord is good.
Yes, He is. Yes, He is. Yes, He is.
And
All day long.
she loved to sing.
Yes, she did.
Let God have his time.
Amen.
Okay? Let him have his time. I remember brother, my oldest boy, I know what I'm talking about. And Colin, you know what I'm talking about. There was a brother down in Huntsville, Alabama. And he was quite a playboy. He really was. He served the Lord, but he was a playboy. He had a faithful wife that loved him dearly. She did. She loved him dearly. She knew he was a playboy. He got another wife on the other side of town. She knew he had another wife on the other side of town. Me and Brother Solomon and some of the brothers would come to visit him, and she said, I said, where's brother? He lives on the other side of town. I'm praying for my husband. I'm praying that one day God gives my husband back. Now, there's no greater love than this. I'm telling y'all. And we used to say, why don't you just divorce him? You got all the right. She said, I love my husband. I'm praying that God give him back.
There you go. Amen.
Well, he came down with diabetes. And they cut one of his arms off. And he still went over the other side. Then they cut one of his legs off. And somehow he still went over the other side of town. Then they cut the other leg off. And all of a sudden that other wife said, I don't want half of a man. She put him in a car with a wheelchair and rolled him up to the front yard and set him outside. And he out there hollering. Somebody help me. She come out, get her husband and roll him in the house. When we seen this lady, she said, Brother Wilson, God has answered my prayer. Y'all don't understand this kind of love. Do you? You don't have to answer that. The Lord is good. That's what we're talking about. Now, this is me when I was a young man.
Wonderful experience being here. Been here for about a week. And I tell you what, it's really been good. Every year, I tell myself that this will be the last year that I'll do this. like regular people. But I don't really get a chance to do that. I don't really get a chance to live with my family and to raise my children. So I'm always traveling, always going, working with people. And after 27 years of doing it, you start looking for a time to quit. And but every time I meet someone, I'm motivated to keep on going. It's like something that's compelling me to keep on and trying to inspire someone else to take up this work.
Now, every year, after about 10 years of this work, I was looking for ways to quit. And I've been telling them, I'm not going to do it again. I'm finished. And I tell everybody, that's my last year. And now I have almost double that time here fixed. All right? And I'm venturing out on something now that is greater than I ever did before. God has renewed my strength. He really has. Everybody's worried about me that I'm going to work myself to death. I said, well, praise God. What a glorious way to go. I mean, what you think I'm going to do? Die laying down? Doing nothing? I want to die doing God's work.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? So don't be sad about me. If something happened to me, but praise God, then, hey, I'm finished my work.
Amen.
But I'll tell you what, I want to work myself to death because I'm indebted to God. And I'm trying to pay him back knowing good well I can't do it.
Amen.
That was Paul's testimony. And now that's mine.
Amen.
Now that don't mean I'm trying to work for salvation. That means that I feel in hell
Yes.
to do
Yes.
something back to him.
That's right.
Knowing that he don't need it.
Right.
He really don't, because it's unmerited favor.
Amen.
Yes.
That's right.
That's
But
right.
because I feel a burning desire to do something, God accept my little simple labor. And like I said, I'm sharing my story with you, my life today. This is really stepping on back in time. That's the young man there that's first heard this message and caught on fire. Now, I have determined that I'm going to honor God in this body of mine.
Amen.
I'm not going to let this body get old. Y'all don't believe it. Don't look at that gray hair up there.
That's
You know,
right.
that thing got nothing to do with getting old. Nothing to do with getting old. But what I have no control over that gray hair. But I got some control over this body now.
Amen.
I never overeat.
Amen.
Don't.
Amen.
I never eat seconds.
Amen.
I don't care how good it is. Once I eat, I'm finished. All
Amen.
right? I sit down and eat. I get up with the same feeling I sat down with. I
Amen.
live. Are you following? That's just where I am, and it's been a great blessing. And I don't mind missing a meal or two. Hey, that's a great thing.
Yes.
And you'll be amazed how God will give you added strength when
Amen.
you honor this. And I'm going on back a little bit more. I was a young man here, and but I'm trying to do God's work. I'm trying to train people to do this work. And I never forget those moments of the many different people all over the world that I labor with. And then, God gave me this little boy right here. And he looked like his mama. He acted like me. That's not a bad deal, you know what I mean? I thank God he looked like his mama. But he acted like me.
Thank you, Lord.
And that's all right with me.
Okay, because our theme is cleansing, today we're going to be talking about what happens when we don't have proper boundaries, and what happens. Well, my dummy here said, he didn't follow.
Hey, I'm embarrassing him now. But, and what's so amazing is, I'm an artist. I'm a portrait artist and a sculptor. And I was gifted with that. I was born with that gift. And I can paint it. All of y'all in this picture or carve y'all a piece of wood or marble, it don't make any difference. So I have that gift. And what's amazed me, my son got the same gift. He really have. I mean, that's the first painting portrait he's ever done. He painted that. And I tell you, that is extremely good for somebody who never picked up a paintbrush and painted a portrait like that. This is my story. It's the class of 2016. This is what keeps me moving, keep me motivated.
Praise the Lord.
So send I you to labor unrewarded, to serve unpaid, unloved, unsought, unknown.
This is our little humble place in Tennessee.
To suffer scorn and scoffing, so send I
And people come from all over the world.
for me alone. So send I you to loneliness and longing, with heart hungering for the loved and known, forsaking home and the kindred, friend and dear one. So send I you to know my love alone. So send I you to hearts made hard by hatred, to eyes made blind because they will not see.
Yes, that's a real long. And they have to learn how to, I don't have any power here. They have to learn how to examine those lungs for tumors and anything else that is abnormal in the system. And we have doctors, medical folks, registered nurses, they all attend our class. Every year we have several doctors in our class.
Praise the Lord. Amen.
And I don't see any difference, really, I don't. I don't see any disadvantage or advantage of being a doctor, a nurse. They're all on the same level
Yes.
when it comes to medical missionary work.
Amen.
Amen.
Because it's a whole different type of training. I mean, they may know bedside nursing and so on, but it's just a different type of training. And so they learn right or wrong, you know. I don't try to teach physiology the way a physiologist would do it. I teach it from a Bible perspective.
Amen. Amen.
I don't teach chemistry like a chemist would do it. I teach it from a Bible perspective. And so that put a different twist on it, you know, and my computer's acting crazy again. I can tell that when I hit this button, it's gonna go crazy. I don't know if that's good or that. I knew that was gonna happen. But anyway, like I said, the key component is just treating everybody the same. You know, it's no difference in them. Knowing that we're all learning at a level that God has laid out for us to learn.
Amen.
And I'm gonna try to get this. Devin, you come back and get this for me. When I can keep talking, I can focus on what I'm doing. And my foundation is in Isaiah the 22nd chapter. Isaiah the 22nd chapter. And verse 22 to 22. And the key of the house of David will I lay upon his shoulder. Now this is an allegory. This is a true story about Christ. It has nothing to do with Isaiah nor David. This is about Christ. And the key of the house of David will I lay upon his shoulder. So he shall open, and none shall shut. And he shall shut, and none shall open. Only the mighty angel, Jesus Christ, can do that. And he said, and I will fasten him as a nail in a sure place. That means somebody's going to nail this man to a tree.
Yes.
And it's going to be so sure that nobody can take it down. All right? Only the Father can do that. And it said that, and he shall be for a glorious throne to his Father's house.
Yes.
That means that all of heaven going to witness this man being nailed to a tree. And he's going to be a glorious throne to his Father's house. And they shall hang upon him all the glory of his Father's house. That means that after he had hung on the cross, that means now he is full heir through his sacrifice. He had won our salvation and redemption. And now all honor is given to the Son. That's up. And it said, the offsprings and the issues of all vessels of small quantity, from the vessels of cups, even all the vessels of fire. And in that day, says the Lord of hosts, shall the nails that is fastened in the sure place be removed. Now, what is being said there? When we get to that, I'm not going to play it anymore. What is that saying? It said, in that day. What day is God talking about? That's the day of the completion of the day of atonement, the day of adornment. When the day of adornment is finished, then something's going to happen in that day. Now, during that time, before that time, there is a process. There are 3 steps that take place. There's justification, there's sanctification, there's glorification. And so on the cross, we are justified. Amen?
Amen.
We're justified. Now, justification does not mean that you're perfect. You do know that, right?
Yes.
Justification cannot make you perfect. It just simply makes you not guilty. Do you understand that?
Amen.
Yes.
In other words, you cannot say that that person is guilty, but you cannot say he's righteous either.
That's right.
It means that God had him in a position by which he must prove his righteousness.
Yes.
And then that proving period is called sanctification. Okay, that's that proving period. And so as he proved that through sanctification, and after that day is concluded, now he's what? Ready to glorify God.
Yes.
Ain't that wonderful?
Amen.
Amen.
We can do that same thing with every besetting problem.
Amen.
We can get the victory over sin.
Yes.
It said, in that day, says the Lord of hosts, shall the nail that is fastened in the sure place be removed, and be cut down and fall, and the burden that was upon it shall be cut off, for the Lord has spoken it.
Yes.
So there's a burden on that cross. As long as he's nailed to that tree, there's a burden
That's right.
to save sinners.
That's right.
But when that nail is taken down, that burden is finished, you're going to hear God's strange work. You know what God's strange work is? You're going to hear him laughing from heaven at the destruction of the wicked.
Mercy.
Now, that's strange that a holy, loving, compassionate God is going, his voice going to roar through the heavens. That sin has been destroyed.
Mercy, Lord. Thank you.
Let us not be those
Amen.
that is not in favor of God. If we hope to wear the crown, we must expect to bear the cross.
Yes,
Amen.
Amen.
Do you understand? Now, that means when you give your heart to God, it ain't all that pie in the sky.
That's right.
Are you following me? It's not. You may think, I'm giving my heart to the Lord, now it's going to be all good times. But it's going to be mostly bad times. You see, if it was all good times, you wouldn't need a Savior.
That's right.
You wouldn't need him. And so, God gave us an example. He said, he became a man of sorrow.
That's right.
sorrow filled heaven as it was realized that man was lost. And the world which God had created was to be filled with moral doom, to misery, sickness, and death. There was no way of escape for the offender. So we had no way to be saved. We was damned. The whole family of Adam must die. I saw the lovely Jesus and beheld an expression of sympathy and sorrow upon his countenance. This manner of life was by no means of one of our choosing. God called us in our poverty and led us through the furnace of affliction to give us an experience which should be of great fraud to us, an example to others who should afterwards join us in labor. So if God gives us these experiences, these trials and tribulations, it's for other people.
That's right.
Amen.
So that we can help them.
That's right.
And if you never had trials and tribulation, you never get no help in no more.
That's right.
Our master was a man of sorrow. He was acquainted with grief, and those who suffer with him will reign with him.
Amen.
Now, if you want to escape all tribulation and problems and suffering, you won't reign with Christ.
That's right.
You're going to burn with the devil. That's what's going to happen. He said, when the Lord appeared to Saul in his conversion, he did not propose to show him how much good he should enjoy, but what great things he should suffer for his name. Suffering has been a portion of God's people from the days of the martyr of Abel.
That's right.
It ain't going nowhere either. As long as we're in this life, we don't suffer.
That's right.
The trials of our faith work as patience.
Yeah.
And all that live godly will suffer persecution. Now, if you don't want no persecution, stop living like Christ. Just quit it. See, I'm teaching you a strange gospel today.
Come on.
You don't get that kind of gospel. You know what I mean? They want to make you feel good gospel.
Mercy.
Come on now.
Ain't nothing feeling good about this gospel I'm talking about today. The patriarchs suffered for being true to God
Yeah.
and obedience to his commandments. The great head of the church suffered for our sake. His first apostles in the primitive church suffered. Many of the martyrs, they suffered. The reformers, they suffered. And why should we, this last generation, who had the blessed hope of immortality to be consummated at the soon appearing of Christ, shrink from a life of suffering? Why are you going to sit back now? I don't know why this happened to me. I don't know. It shouldn't have happened to me. I've done this with God and all of that. Were it possible to reach the tree of life in the midst of the paradise of God without suffering, it's not possible, people. We would not enjoy so rich a reward for which we had not suffered. It's going to make us appreciate heaven even more.
That's right. Amen.
We will shrink back from the glory and the shame. It will seize us in the presence of those who have fought the good fight and have ran the race of patience. In other words, we meet somebody that went through a lot of suffering and he's just praising God, and we just got a little nick on our finger.
That's right.
You know, we're going to feel ashamed.
That's right.
We're going to say, what suffering you went through? You ain't going to want to tell them. Are you following me? But none will be there who have not, like Moses, chose to suffer affliction with the people of God.
Thank you.
The prophet John saw the multitude of the redeemed and inquired who they were. The prompt answer came, these are they which came out of great tribulation and have washed their robes and made them white with the blood of the Lamb. Christ suffered on our account beyond our comprehension.
Yes, he did.
And we should welcome trials and suffering on our own account for Christ's sake.
Amen.
That we may overcome as Christ also overcame, and be exalted to the throne of our Redeemer. Let us consider the life and the suffering of our precious Savior in our behalf, and remember that if we are not willing to endure trials and toil and conflict, if we are not willing to be partakers with Christ in his suffering, we shall be found unworthy of a seat upon his
Mercy,
throne.
Lord. Help us, Jesus. Help us, help us, help us.
I want you to take a look at what I mean when I'm talking about suffering. These people come with all types of problems. Y'all know her right there.
Yes.
That's Sister Mason. This young boy here had colon cancer, brain cancer. This lady here had kidney cancer. He had a diabetic amputation. Breast cancer. And the greatest miracle is not the alleviation of disease, but helping that person deal with their problem.
Amen.
You know, people want to say, well, did they get well? What matters? That don't matter nothing.
That's right.
If they registered in the Lamb Book of Life is what you should be concerned about.
Amen.
That person died with the blessed hope.
That's right.
That's what we should be inquiring.
Yes. Yes.
Many times these people have come with the last moments of their life. They'll come trying to find reconciliation with God and their neighbor and their family. It's your job to do that.
Yes.
We'll come to the time when every member of the church should be a medical missionary. None of us
Amen.
exempt.
Amen.
Every preacher should be a doctor. Every doctor should be a preacher.
Amen.
And any preacher that will seek to preach the everlasting gospel without the medical work is not a preacher after the similitude of Christ.
Hear me. Amen.
Christ did more healing than he did preaching.
That's right.
It was the healing that made the preaching work. There was great orators in the day of Christ. Great speakers. Christ did not come like that.
That's right.
Christ came as a great benefactor of mankind.
Amen.
Christ reached down to the level of the suffering of humanity and lifted them out of that degradation
Yes.
and exalted them to the throne of grace. That's what he did.
Amen.
He could only do that through a compassionate work of medical missionary work.
Mercy.
So I tell
Mercy.
you, brothers and sisters, if you want to be effective in this work, you better appreciate this wonderful advantage. You will never outpreach the Baptist, the holiness,
That's right.
and all the folks. You will never be greater than John Paul, whoever he is. You will never do it.
That's right.
That man come in this little town here and everybody come out to look at him. Even his enemies gonna come out and look at him.
Of course. Amen.
Now you go out there, they don't even want to look at you.
That's right.
I'm telling you.
Speak the truth, brother.
Mercy, Jesus. Help us,
Look
Lord.
at this suffering child right here.
The 17-year-old Zimbabwean
She's 17 years old.
has a rare condition
Got a rare disease.
that's been able to cure. She has an aggressive tumor that is literally suffocating her.
Mercy.
If she doesn't get operated on immediately, she will die.
What is she thinking about? Nobody's come to visit her. Nobody's praying for her. Nobody giving her hope. The doctors already told us, no hope, you're going to die. Put her on hospice. Give her palliative care. I mean, what is the job of the church?
Mercy.
Mercy, help
Talk
us.
about
We find ourselves comfortably sitting in these churches while the world is suffering and groaning and travailing.
it. Mercy.
It is our job to come here to get motivated to go out
Amen. Amen.
and find these people.
That's
Amen.
right.
And once you find them, the Holy Spirit will tell you what to do.
All right.
That is the job of the church today, not to sit back here and just get all ripped up for nothing. It's crazy. This lady here had breast cancer in the last stages. We worked with her. Her cancer had rotted in her breast. And they gave her no chance to live. None at all.
My Lord.
She would stink up the whole sanitarium. And so they said, you're going to die of septic toxemia. 2006, they diagnosed her with 4th-stage cancer. No chance to live. That lady's alive today down
Praise the
in Louisiana,
Lord. Praise the Lord.
totally free of cancer.
Thank you, Jesus.
Amen.
Thank you, Jesus.
Totally free of cancer.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
I went down to just talk with her.
Jesus.
This man here had lung cancer. And I'd like to consider it had. That's not important to me. This man gave his heart to the Lord. That's what's most important.
Amen.
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 But
Amen.
God can defeat the demon of lung cancer.
Amen.
He can do
Amen.
it.
Oh, yes.
Amen.
And so he given this story, a beautiful story. We don't have time to listen to all of it today.
Mercy.
Beautiful story how he defeated that demon of lung cancer. This girl here had triple negative breast cancer down in Houston, Texas. And And there's no cure for triple-negative breast cancer. And in order to be able to understand and deal with triple-negative, you got to understand the mechanism of the disease. You got to understand the body, how it functions, in order to defeat that demon. She defeated that demon. She's alive today and cancer-free.
Amen.
Praise the Lord.
Now, this is a tough one right here. This girl here was from South America. She has stomach cancer.
I have come from New York because I was diagnosed with stomach cancer. So bad.
She's totally free of stomach cancer. They want to take her whole stomach out. And today she's totally 100%
Thank
free
you, Lord.
from stomach cancer.
Thank you, Jesus.
Now these are victories, but now I'm gonna tell you, not all of them turn out this way. But thank God for
Amen.
the few.
Amen.
Amen.
This man here is a medical doctor. He invited me to come to work with his cousin, which had colon cancer, brain cancer, and cancer of the pelvic bone. And I told him that I was working on a case in California that I could not come. And so he said, well, I know you keep the Sabbaths. Can you come up on your Sabbaths? And he put me in a bind because I was planning on resting that Sabbath. So I read that it's good to do good on the Sabbath.
Amen.
All right? Now, I got in that plane and I went and flew across country to work with this young man that was dying. And I did not feel any thing that I had violated. Because it's good to do good on the Sabbath day. I remember when he walked through the cornfield, they plucked corn on the Sabbath day. That was a crime of instant death. But it's good to do good on the Sabbath day. God mostly chose the Sabbath to do most of these miracles.
That's right.
Yes, he did.
Don't ever separate the medical word from the gospel. The medical word is the gospel illustrated and manifested in love.
Mercy, Jesus.
It is the door opener for the gospel. It is the helping hand of the gospel. It makes your work much easier.
Yes.
I had to go in and take my hand, go up in that boy's rectum. Boy hadn't had a bowel movement in nearly 2 months. I had to go in there and unpack him. And he's an Orthodox Muslim. And I never forget, the father told me, he said, Mr. Wilson, we appreciate what you're doing. You come here to help my son. He said, but we got a religion where you cannot eat nothing in this house. You cannot sleep in this house. And he felt so bad. I looked at that man. I said, sir, don't trouble yourself. I got a funny religion too. There's places where I can't sleep in, and there's food I won't eat. And so we had some things in common with your father. And so I went to work, and I'm looking at all these Muslims, and these were the Orthodox Muslims. These are the serious Muslims. All right? These ain't just your little. These are serious ones. They didn't say a word to me. Just looking. And this boy was suffering. And I'm working on him all day on the Sabbath day. And I'm thinking about what I could be doing on the Sabbath day. But I'm not caught up helping this young man. And so he got cancer all in his abdominal area, and he's got polyps in his colon. So I had to get that colon opened up, because if he didn't, he was going to die. So I had to loosen it up. I gave him 2 types of enemas. I gave him a hot and cold enema, and then I gave him a retention olive oil enema. Hot and cold was a hot and cold contrast to stimulate peristaltics. Then I inject some olive oil in his rectum to lubricate his rectum, so that when the hot pieces come out, it wouldn't abrase him. You know what I mean? And so I worked on his appendix to try to stimulate some peristaltics. And I'm talking, it's a pepper addict. I'm trying to encourage this young boy that is trying to give up. He's trying to die. And I'm letting him know, you're young, you look good, man. You got a lot to live for. Because everybody been coming out moping and sad, and I'm trying to give some encouragement to them.
Yes.
To fight.
Yes.
These people are in this community right now. They are
Thank you, Jesus.
The doctors have given up on them. Do you understand?
Yeah.
The medical system has no hope for them. They need you.
Mercy.
Yes.
Mercy.
And don't worry about the money will come.
Amen.
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 That I live better
Jesus.
than Donald Trump.
Amen.
Thank you, Jesus.
I live better than Donald Trump. I fly all over the world. And most of the time I'm on a black spot up in them big jets.
Mercy.
And I'm looking around wondering how do a poor ignorant boy in a ghetto town of Memphis, Tennessee, going up in here with all these big shots.
Jesus.
But God said he will exalt you with kings and queens.
Mercy. Thank you, Jesus.
And so, and I do live better than him. I don't have to spend no money. You know, I come down here, got a few pennies in my pocket, but I didn't have to pay for where I sleep.
Mercy. Thank you,
Don't
Jesus.
have enough to buy me nothing to eat, but somebody fix me some
Come
food.
on now. Talk about it.
Didn't have to carry my bags in, they take my bags in plus.
Well,
Now, I'm gonna tell you something, I live better than Donald
all
Trump.
right now.
You follow what I'm saying? I have no worries.
There you go.
Donald Trump living like Nebuchadnezzar. He worried about all his stuff.
Mercy.
I ain't worried about mine, because I ain't got none.
All right. Amen.
So,
Amen.
now look what came out of this boy right here. You see that big hard lump of stuff right there? That's what they were saying that was killing this boy, that because it had wrapped around polyps in his rectum, had sealed his rectum off. I had to get him freed up so he can have elimination waste out of his system. It was a wonderful experience.
Amen. Thank you.
And they told me, they said, after I finished, I gave him a soft blow in the bed. I took my thumb and I put it in his hip bone because he had cancer in the hip bone. So if he tried to stand up, his hip jumped out of place. And it's real painful. So I stuck my thumb between his hip bone and I stood him up and I walked him across the room. As long as I had my thumb in his hip bone, it didn't jump out of place.
Thank you, Lord.
And they said, hey, looking at me, after I finished rubbing him down with salt, gave him a steam bath and do all of that, that boy started saying, praise God for y'all, praise God for y'all, thank God for y'all. The Muslim father walked up to me and said, Mr. Wilson, I want to thank you for coming to help my son.
Thank you, Lord.
We have fixed you a wonderful vegetarian meal. And I want you to sleep in my bed.
Hallelujah.
Come on now.
Praise the Lord.
Lord can break down
God
barriers.
will break down these walls.
Yes,
That's right.
He will.
He will do it.
Yes, He will. Praise you, Lord.
Don't get offended because people said something that may offend you.
All right.
It's an opportunity to show your Christianity.
All
That's right. That's
I'm
right.
telling you. It's an opportunity.
Yes.
When it says something upset you, and say, well, thank you, Jesus.
That's
Here
right.
it comes. I can exercise what I've been studying.
All right
The
now.
steps of Christ. Okay? Now, if you can exercise that which you haven't been studying now, I don't know. This boy here had brain cancer. And that man with the glasses, his name was Bill Hayes. Some of y'all know Bill Hayes. Anyway, this boy had brain cancer and he was in a coma. And they asked me and Bill to come and get him. And we went to get him. He was in a full coma. And his mother said, please try to revive him. So we brought him back there. We did hot and cold spinal treatments. We gave him enemas. We gave him hot foot baths. We gave him some tonics on his tongue. We fed him through the rectum. And God woke him up.
Amen.
He woke him up. He sure did. And he's not perfect, but he's in the land of the living.
Amen. Thank you,
You
Jesus.
follow what I'm saying? Now he had got a lot of radiation to the brain. That's why his hair looked like that. And so there's a lot of scar tissue. But he's competent enough to know he's a child of God.
Amen. That's what's important.
And so I want you to see something here at the end of this clip. And this is what I mean about being a true medical missionary. I remember that when we had our school, we would always bring in people out the nursing home. They're in diapers. I think you know about this, Senator. They're in diapers. And we were working with a man named Herman Carson.
Oh, yes.
They brought him to our place, and his son said, Mr. Wilson, will you work with him? He got Alzheimer's. I said, no, I ain't working with him. I ain't got time to fool with that. I know what that is. I was young, and I wanted to travel. I didn't want to be tied down to no man on diapers. All he knows is that old ugly N-word, and I was about to be bothered with that, because I hadn't got the victory over that N-word. And so, they said, will you please try? I said, I can't do it. I got sleep that night. The Holy Spirit said, you need to do it. And I got up the next morning. I said, I'll do it for a little while. That man stayed with us 6 years. A little while became 6 years. So, they know what I'm talking about. And I was telling my son, we were laughing coming up here. Me and Seneca. One night, Herman was up there cursing, you so-and-so, N-words, you, I hate you, N-word, boom, boom, bam, boom. I said, come on, son. We got on our knees, and we crawled, and we said, Herman, Herman, we are the devil, we coming to get you. Let's tell y'all this story. And he said, no, I ain't going nowhere. God healed that man.
Amen.
I'm telling you, he healed him. He used to travel with me around the country, helping me do health talk.
Wow.
Restored his mind.
Woo! Jesus.
He got so restored back that he thought all other black folks were the N-word, but we wasn't no N-word. Well, I tell you, remember what he told you, son? Leave that white girl alone, you're going to have polka dot children.
Oh, mercy. Polka dot children. Wow.
Herman was a mess, I'm telling you now. But he loved us, he became our grandpa.
Oh, wow.
He really
Amen.
did. He became our grandpapa. And I miss that guy. He lived an old life age where he passed on. Now watch this right here. I'm getting ready to stop because I know I'm holding y'all too long. Now watch this right here. Now this is true medical missionary work. He cannot walk. So the way you get around, he's got a human carriage. And he put him on his back and he take him around. This is what I mean about being a true medical missionary. This man here had.
I am normal. In other words, I am not.
This man here had prostate cancer.
Brother Matthew, anything below 4 that I had a real good chance of making. And it's normal. It's not even one.
Well, the doctor said they just don't understand. They can't figure it out.
Less than 3 months ago, I had 3 months to live.
Now I can hear Sister Carlin's voice.
So I told that their doctor friend of mine, who is a nice, seven-damaged man, beautiful man, really loved the person. I told him I said, no.
And he came back well. And God healed that man of prostate. His PSA went from 2,000 down to less than 0
Wow.
in 3 months.
Wow.
It was a wonderful miracle. And I'm just going to speed up for the sake of time here. This is a really good story. I'm not going to waste your time with it now, but this young boy had thousands of tumors all over his body. This man here had a really high case of diabetes. This man here had colon cancer. He had a colostomy bag and it became blocked. I had to take the bag off. Never done it in my life. And I said, Lord, it's time for you to take this colostomy bag off because I don't know what I'm doing. And the Spirit said, reach and grab the bag. I reached and grabbed the bag and turned it and it came off. I said, okay. He said, now hair it up. Because if you don't hair it up, he's going to spray it all over you. He has no control of his bowels. So I cleaned it out a little bit, hooked the bag back up. I gave him an enema, and then I hooked it back up. And I didn't know what I was doing, but the Holy Spirit knew what he was doing. And this lady here, she was a severe diabetic. This girl here was a professional model.
I don't care. Then I want my medicine. Please give it to me. Please, no. 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 You promised me. I'll do it. Everybody in this house is lying to me. I don't care. I'm ready to die. I'm going.
She said everybody's lying to her. She's ready to die. She won't have medicine. They've already said that she needed to cut back on her medicine to stop because she was past her limit. And so her mother took it from her. She's begging for it because she's addicted to it. Anyway, I unblocked this girl's colon. She had a total blockage. She was going to be dead in 3 days. I went up in her colon and unblocked it. And she was doing fine. She got up one night, walked, found her medicine, and OD'd.
Wow.
She sure did. After going through all of that, this lady had Parkinson's disease. We put on fava beans, on a lot of B vitamins, changed her diet, God healed her. This girl was one of the first person I did herbal surgery on. This is her right here. That's the tumor up on her arm. This is the same girl. And watch this right here. Watch this. Now, you see, can you see that hole going right through that breast? That tumor is pulling off from her body in chunks. And we was able to remove that tumor in sections until it fell off her body. This is her right here. I'm sprinkling gold and silver and myrrh, and that tumor has already been extracted off her chest. This boy here had brain cancer. They took him to a major hospital. They burned his brain with radiation. Now watch when see Seneca right here. This is what Seneca was helping me. They burned his brain. He probably don't remember this. They burned his brain with radiation. And so he's paralyzed now. I've already put him on a parasite cleanse because he's having grand mal seizures every hour on an hour. And I knew if you keep doing that, he's going to destroy brain cells. So that's Seneca right there. And he's going to help me take him upstairs. And we got something for him. I'm going to give him a special type of enema. I'm going to inject a little cow's milk up in his rectum. After feeding him garlic and wormwood and fennel seed and black walnut and celery and horseradish root for about 3 days. The parasites are so hungry inside him because they don't want none of that to eat. They want some starches, sugar, and some cakes and pies. And they're not getting it. They're starving to death. I injected that cow's milk up in his rectum, and they went for the cow's milk. When they went for the cow's milk, they had a big bowel movement, and all the worms came out. Now, we took the black trash bag up under him. You remember this song? We put a black trash bag up under him to catch the feces. That's one of the lone worms, spaghetti worms right there, that was causing them to have all these seizures. We killed those parasites and the seizures stopped. This is what I'm saying. This is going to make a difference for medical missionaries. Nobody's doing this. What if you did this in this community? You're just dealing with holy people. This man here has stomach cancer. Very rare type of stomach cancer. This man, the whole backside is ate out. You don't even know what that is, so it's not bothering you. That's his back. That's his boo-boo. Are you following me? It's ate out. Are you following me? Now what you gonna do? Somebody walking there with half their backside ate out. You're gonna say, well, I can't help you, get away from here. You got to call on the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Now y'all know who she is.
Miss Jackie,
Yeah.
you like mother to me.
Look at that big tumor sitting in her face. What you gonna do? What you gonna do in a case like this? Are you understanding me? Is anything impossible for the Holy Spirit? Nothing. If the Holy Spirit can give the world this knowledge, then why not give it to us? This man got half his face gone. Somebody got to do this work.
That's
And
right.
like I said, it fell on my doorstep. You wonder now why I've been so big demand all over the world? Because very few people as crazy as I am.
That's right.
You see what I mean? I will deal with this by the grace of God because I got a secret weapon.
Amen.
I have trusted God so much
Amen.
that I feel fully persuaded
That's right.
that God is able.
Amen.
This man here down in Mobile, Alabama, I took this big tumor out of his face. Took it out of his face. I'm gonna stop that. That's enough. That's enough, right there.
Wow.
But God is good. Now, if they took that tumor out of his face, now look back at him. That's him right there. And this is him. That's him right there.
Wow.
The next day after the tumor fell out of his face, that's him. They saved the tumor for me to look at it because it fell out that night. And they put it in a jar so that I can look at it. And all that, see that big hole in his face? That's where that tumor was fitting in his face. And so, yeah, that's the tumor right there in that jar right there. And that tumor, it feels like a stone, like a rock. That's it right there. It was stuck in his face. Now I'm telling you something, I don't have the wisdom to do this. I don't. I really don't know what I'm doing. That's why I'm able to do it. You see, because I don't trust what Mamon Wilson can do. And they asked me, did you do that? No, sir, I did not do that. I am scared to death to do that. So they ain't got to worry about locking me up because I did not do it. He did it.
Amen.
I'm going to snitch on him. He did it. He's greater than I. But that's him right there. The only thing left is a little scar on his face. That's all right. I pointed to Christ, a little scars in his hand.
You live with that?
And
Have mercy.
let's stop there. All right? I can show you thousands and thousands of cases over the last 40 years. And it's just been a wonderful journey. And I just thank God for my experience. If you're afraid to go to jail, don't do this work.
That's right. Amen.
All that live godly will suffer persecution.
Amen.
And so it's part of the work.
Amen.
God will take care of you, so don't worry about the
That's
finance.
right.
Don't worry about all that stuff. Let God take care of you. Okay?
Amen.
I've enjoyed it. I'm sorry I kept you a little longer than I normally do. But I wanted to just impress. I'm impressed with what you're doing. I'm really impressed with what you're doing. But you got to let the Holy Spirit work.
Amen.
You got to do it. And you got a really good beginning. I don't know many facilities as nice as you got here. I don't know many. I don't. But what you lack is trust and experience in God.
Amen.
You need to be thoroughly trained. You need a medical missionary intensive training course.
Yes.
You
Amen.
need to do a survey to see how many people want to go through a 30-day training.
That's right.
And this brother in this wheelchair, he needs to go through a training so he can go to work.
Amen.
I can train that brother to be a medical missionary right there in the
Yes.
wheelchair.
That's
I have a
right.
girl come to my school that's 100% blind. When I finish with her, she's going to go out and do medical missionary work. I know a man that he was a quadriplegic. And we went to see him, me and Brother West went to see him, and he said, I can't do medical missionary work, I'm a quadriplegic. I said, yes, you can. I said, we'll come to a time when everybody's got to do medical work. He said, what can I do? All I can do is move my head. I said, you can run your mouth. He said, yeah. So we rigged a stand up. Back then, he had little cassette tapes. We set a blank cassette tape right there in front of him, and I said, now record the Spirit of Prophecy. He recorded all the volume of the Spirit of Prophecy on cassette tapes, and he mailed them out to people. You're coming to a time, all right? None of us is exempt to do this work.
That's right.
Thank you all.
gonna say amen?
Amen. That's right.
I thought y'all gonna have some Holy Ghost filled hooping, hollering, preaching. That's real, that's the real gospel.
That's right.
And I didn't know he had some of those old pictures. He went back for me. But that is, and one thing he did say I want to expound on, we're going to pray, is that he never once, me and my little brother could say, told us this is what we have to do.
That's right.
He said, all I can do is make a way,
That's right.
and it's up to you to let God lead how you go.
Amen.
So, I like the story of my brother, and me is I'm the prodigal son. I used to be ashamed to say it, but I'm not.
Amen.
I had to go out and I cast my pearls and them pigs didn't look too good and it was muddy. I had to go through some stuff
I know what you're talking about.
to come home. The story is that at least my little brother didn't say get jealous of me and try to run me off.
Hallelujah.
Oh, I got some help now.
Amen.
But if it wasn't for a man such as my father, I
Yes.
would not be here today.
Amen. I
That's the
believe it.
truth. And that's physically too.
Yes.
He's physically helped me.
Yes.
I was paralyzed from the waist down. I don't know if you remember that story. I mean, literally from the waist down, I could not walk. And been pinned under some concrete. And he rushed over, and it hurt, and he just said, "You all right?" I'm crying like a little girl. "I'm not, you all right? You okay?" And 2 days later, I was all right. Now, I tore every muscle in my body,
That's right.
but we didn't go to the emergency room.
That's
We
right.
use natural remedies. So a lot of times, even when we spoke before, a lot of experiences you see, it's not something we read. This is an experience that I have experienced and have seen as you've seen.
Yes.
And this is what it's coming down to. That is why the medical missionary work, we're trying to bring it to this area and knowledge, because you are going to knock on someone's door, someone's going to come to you, and what are you going to be able to tell them?
That's right.
They've been praying, so they don't need you to say, "I pray for you."
Amen.
They've been praying, and God
right.
sent you.
Amen.
And this is what we have to do. Herman Elroy Carson was also one of the head members of the clan when he came to us, and we called him Grandpa. And that one part of the story he left out is when he stuck his hand under that cover and grabbed on his foot and told him that we were the devil and coming to get him. That man hollered, "Jesus!" And the next morning he said, "I'm a Seventh-day Adventist." My older brother said, "This is the version of Mamonology, converted all in one night." For 30 days, I lie to you not, that man did not cuss. He didn't wet on himself. He didn't mess on himself. He was helping the other guests walk. He was fine. 2 days later, he had a heart attack sitting in church. He never stopped preaching. He fell on the floor. He looked at me and said, "Son?" I said, "Yes, sir." Got up, went and got some cayenne pepper, stuck it in his mouth, and he never stopped preaching. 30 seconds later, he come back to and cussed us all out in church. He said, "Herman, remember where you at?" Fine. In those 6 years we had him, he had 7 heart attacks. And none of them killed him. The day he died, he was at home. His wife was in a nursing home in Huntington. Miles apart. He was in Mississippi. She was in a nursing home. He died, and 2 hours later she died. Never knew. And they lived a long time. But those are the stories that I have experienced and what he showed me. And so that's why God's bringing me back, because I've seen what he can do in my own life. And I've seen what he can do in others. If y'all want to be a part of that, all you got to do is surrender.
Amen.
If you don't surrender, you can't get it.
Amen.
That's right.
That's right, my brother.
You can't get the blessing God wants to
Amen.
give you if you don't surrender.
Amen.
Let us have a word of prayer.
Amen. Amen.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for the message that was brought through experience through life.
Yes.
Lord, we ask that right now that our hearts be touched and that we will surrender totally to you.
Please.
Not to what we want to make people see or what we feel like.
Amen.
Because, Lord, following you is not an easy road, but it's a necessary road if we want to enter the kingdom of heaven. But Lord, it's not just for our own sakes.
Yes.
Lord, that souls may be drawn to you.
Amen.
So we ask this, that we take heed to the message that was given. And we hold fast, and that we go forth this day. Not just holding this information for our own pleasure, but to spread the word, that souls may be saved.
Yes.
Bless us throughout this day. Bless us and keep us. In Jesus' name we pray.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Amen.